What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of The Block Sauce, your weekly web show that serves up the juiciest discussions in the world of Web3 and gaming culture. I'm your host, Arena of T Ambassador Jim Kieran, and today we've got a new panel lined up for you, so you know the drill. Grab your controller, crack open a Mountain Dew, and prepare to get your game on. Let's go. Hey there, sauce enthusiasts. It's time to bring the heat with another electrifying episode of The Block Sauce. As you can see, we've got some new faces on the panel, so we're going to go ahead and give them a chance to introduce themselves. We have DeFi Zoo Racer. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, and yeah, thanks for having me on. Excited to, talk here about a few different topics in gaming and Web3, and, learn more about some of the other guys on here as well, and what they're doing.
So what do you do in the space?
So what I do in the space, we were just kind of talking about this. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I started in crypto maybe as far back as 2013, really deep dove in 2017 in the GPU mining and like that kind of space. Cause I was like a broke college student who just started like PC gaming and was like, oh, I have this hardware. Why don't I put it to work? And it's funny how that's becoming a narrative again. And I'm like, all these projects are talking about renting out GPU space. Why don't you just GPU mine a real currency and not something that no one is renting GPUs? So there's my first hot take with all these, GPU things. That one's free there. But, from there, I wasn't really involved like at an official capacity, but maybe more so like, just deep in with communities back then. And then probably start 2020 and beyond is really where I started picking up different gigs and roles and, ambassador things with different blockchains, communities, other content creators, so on and so forth. I have like a whole bio full in my Twitter, and I'm actually involved at some capacity with everything in my bio. So it's not just like a list of like projects I'm shilling. It's a list of projects that I'm actively, in the communities engaging and like providing some kind of value to. So, yeah, call me the jack of all trades and a man of many DeFi names. That's the best intro I can give you.
I'm just saying, if people are going to pay people for resources, because I used to use Theta's live stream platform, and they basically, if we let them use our bandwidth, we could earn T-Fuel, and I opted in a heartbeat because it's optional, and they were transparent about it. You want to use my GPUs for mining, hit me up. As long as you're paying me for it. Oh man. And of course, if you guys missed our previous episodes and you haven't seen our Fuse War video yet, you might not be familiar with Ivory. How are you doing today, Ivory?
I'm doing good, brother. I appreciate the invitation. Appreciate being here again. Can't wait to talk about some games. Get into it.
All right. And if you're not familiar with them, make sure you guys go watch our Fuse War video, because we dive deep in with him and Slick and talk about their game, what they're building, and kind of their thought processes behind Web3 as well. And last but not least, we have Rom with us from the ReNFT team. He's always been viewing, but now he's actually on the panel. How are you doing today, Rom?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. It's good to be here.
And what's going on over at ReNFT?
What's going on at AMC? So, currently we're actually in the kind of final stretch of pushing out our V3 platform. So that's our new rental solution, and I'm not sure how. I could probably spill all the beans already if you guys want to, but generally, it's going to be our new platform. And if you guys want more info, I'll be happy to share. And so a bit about me, maybe. been doing web stuff since about 2006. So I've been in the game for a long time, and the web game that is. Been kind of curious about Web3 since 2013 also. I mean, that was when Bitcoin became a thing, kind of. Been following the space ever since. And yeah, I mean, things kicked off like 5 years back or so. And that's when I really started to check out Web3 and see if I can do something in the space.
Sounds good. Ivory, I don't know if you have any updates for Fuse Boards, but I should have asked. I'm sorry. Is there anything to update, or is the video still valid?
Oh, video's still valid. Everything's still good. We're looking at a epic launch this month in April.
Ooh.
That's the objective. I'm just waiting on them to approve some documents, and then we should be good to go. So, yeah, we got some more updates coming, and I will be sharing.
Gotcha. So make sure you guys keep an eye on them. So we got a few decent topics this week. I say decent because they're actually really good in my opinion. But in Web3, you know, the scale of decent and good are a little skewed, I feel like. First things first, gaming in Web3 is being labeled at an all-time high. Now, these numbers are being based on active wallets, however, and not necessarily directly players. So I'm going to caveat that right there. I'm going to let you guys give your opinions first because I've got opinions on this one. Who wants to go? Don't make me go first because I'm going to tear it up.
I can take it first. I think it's a little suspicious. I'll say it that way. I think that the wallets, they're good. It's always great to have wallets, but I don't believe that the gaming is quite there yet as far as all-time high. Using those terminologies, you know, I think it's more about wallets. It's maybe more about investments and more about the crypto aspect than the gaming aspect. We're getting there though, but it's going to be a slow grind. And the reason why is because we got to get some quality into the market, and the quality that comes into the market has to not be moved by cryptocurrency or moved by bull markets and bears. If we can kind of separate the two and allow the bear and bull to be an extension of it and not the main thing, then I think we'll really get some, you know, amazing results from gamers and loving everything about Web3. But for right now, I would be more skeptical about the wallet situation. I think it's all about wallets right now, and very few gamers.
Whew. So,
kind of agree there. I mean, if it's wallets, I'm thinking this stuff can be done programmatically, right? So, I mean, that's an easy way to get that number up, basically. But I think you're kind of spot on with that. It's mostly probably driven by broader market movements instead of the gaming aspect still. So yeah, it's curious, but it's good that it's in the lift, right? I mean, you can take it cynically or you can take it positively in this case, maybe.
DeFi, you got anything to add?
I mean, I think any news is good news. You know, people always have good and bad things to say. You know, just looking here, it kind of seems like the Pixels game and maybe some games on the Ronin network are kind of driving this like daily active user, you know, thing, and maybe the Heroes of Mavia with however many million downloads, where people have like 6 iPads playing the game. Because I've seen those posts where people are like, you know, have
I've got
like
3 accounts and night crows.
Yeah, exactly. So at the same time, you know, just to kind of translate this into Web 2 gaming, where maybe games aren't as obsessed, they're kind of more obsessed over the daily active users and players. And I guess, you know, maybe in Web 3, maybe on a broader scale sometimes, like monthly active user things, and we're getting closer to daily active, and I know some of the games are looking at that. But think about this. I'm going to throw in another hot take. Think about all the cheaters and hackers and other accounts on Web 2 games that they're accounting for as signed up accounts, even after they get banned. Call of Duty, we have 50 million players, but 20 million got banned. That's where my mind went, where in both sides of the field that there's probably some wild inaccuracies. And I think there's some statistic out there that most games only retain something like 10% of players, even in the Web 2 space, after a year or 6 months or whatever. So really, I think we need to start focusing on the player retention and not just the acquisition. So that's what I think about that.
So I love that you mentioned retention. I have been preaching this. I'm continuing to preach it. I just talked to a game project about it this week. Retention is something we definitely need to focus on more. However, looking at these numbers, here's my take on it. So first off, clearly a botting issue. I can say that pretty confidently. There is a botting issue. However, botting exists across Web 2, Web 3, doesn't matter. That happens in gaming. So again, DeFi kind of hit the nail on the head there. However, I also look at it like this. They wouldn't be botting if there wasn't something there worth botting. So we've starting to see some games of quality come out. We've seen Yan Heroes, Night Crow. The reason I have 3 accounts isn't because I'm trying to farm, play to earn, or airdrop or anything like that. It's because it's actually an international game. And even though I'm on an NA server, nobody speaks English. So if I want to enjoy the game as an MMORPG, I essentially have to run my own party. So I've got my healer, my tank, and my damage dealer, right? So I'm playing the game genuinely. I'm just using multiple accounts to maximize my enjoyment from it. On top of that, we've also got Space Nation, we've got Shrapnel, we have all these actual games finally coming out with playtests. They're getting players in there, and it's working. I think we're finally making strides in the Web3 gaming space to where we have something I feel is personally worth my time. Last year, maybe it was the year before, I went full in on Web3, and there was maybe 1 or 2 gems where I was I could actually play this on a weekly basis. Now I've got so many playtests that I'm genuinely enjoying. I'm having to make a calendar to even fit them into my schedule because I don't know when I'm going to be able to play what. So I think this increase is both because game quality, but also because bots, they're trying to get these airdrops. The play to airdrop thing is obviously popping right now. The engage to earn and stuff like that. So I think there's a bit of both occurring. So I'm kind of on the fence. I'm in the middle of, yes, it's a good thing. Yes, it's a bad thing. But I think the numbers are definitely skewed. I feel like I can say that with 100% confidence. But again, as Zoo Racer mentioned, that happens in Web 2. They do it all the time. This is nothing new. I don't think this is necessarily us trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. I think it's more of an industry standard situation, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So I think it's good, but I'm not going to recognize that the numbers are bad. So does anybody have anything to add to that? We went through that one faster than ever. I don't think we've ever cleared a topic in 10 minutes.
So I was gonna add something. I actually just saw a post. It was a CoinGecko tweet. I think just last night, and it was just showing here's the most highest gains categories of the past year, and I think Web3 gaming was only 7th out of 8 or something. I was oh, the gaming bull run didn't even start yet. We got meme coins up here at 13,000% or whatever. I'm let's get gaming up into the top 2 or 3 there, and then start talking. But at the same time, I think the whole we had this crazy polar shift where everyone was just talking about gameplay. And now everyone's launching a token, launching a mint, all this other stuff, and I'm just I don't go down in the trenches trying to chase after all these mints and whitelists and all this other stuff. I just get involved with what I want to get involved in. I know people are out there making their bag, promoting these things. More power to them. I don't have the weight to move all that money. Maybe someday I will, but it's just it gives, there's some kind of even though there's all this positive news, I'm also taken back a bit, and I just from experience through 2 bear and bull cycles at least, it just seems it's almost like an ICO craze of gaming happening right in front of our eyes, and we haven't seen the after effects net. So I just want to we can be as bullish as we want, but you can't jump in 100 mints and expect 99 of them to go to the moon and you get out and not be exit liquidity. So that's the way I see it. It's like, everything's super exciting. There's definitely too much going on to the point, like you said, you got to put on a calendar what games you're going to play. And that's a good problem to have, because I was probably right there with you no longer than 6 months ago, that there was you would have to go on a schedule, you had to go on a scheduled community night or game night or tournament to really enjoy the games going on. And now there's multiple games you can just hop on, and there doesn't necessarily have to be something going on that day, and you can still get in games and enjoy them. So that's freaking sweet. I that. What more could you want in Web3 gaming than just have a rotation of games that you can, go around and see what's new, see what's cooking, and then make your own rotation basically. So that's huge for me. So I think that's bullish.
We got a comment right here. As Luke from Pixel said, if people aren't trying to bot your game, it's not because they don't, it's because they don't care enough to. And I have to agree with that.
Well, I mean, there has to be a flood of people in the space, right? And a flood, it's very similar to the meme coin experience, to be honest with you. A flood creates a lot of negative and a lot of positive, right? And there's that aspect where, okay, we got a business model that's going to work for about 6 months, 3 months, wherever. And then you have that other aspect where people are just coming in because they see the flood. And they're like, well, I want to be a part of that too. And it creates a lot of momentum up and down. So as high as you go, as far you're going to fall as well, right? And that's going to be in the gaming space as well. So this comes with the building Web3, and this comes with making gaming great in Web3. This is the negative with the positive. You got to take it, both ways. You're not going to get one without the other. There's going to be a lot of scams. There's going to be a lot of dirty aspects to gaming in Web3. But then there'll be these heroes, the next Halo, the next Kojima, the next Last of Us, whatever it is, and hopefully it's coming from indie devs, which would be great. I think this is still going to be an amazing space for indie developers. So,
isn't that what we're kind of waiting for, right? I mean, when I look at the space currently, it really feels like it's still mostly the Web3 audience, right? Who's the core currently, and you're talking about the flood, but there has to be this kind of Cambrian moment, right, where the floodgates open, so to say, for Web 2 people to join up.
That's going to happen. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, it has to happen, right, for the space to kind of to make their worth validated, kind of.
The reason I say it's going to happen is because it kind of ties into our next topic. We got Dead Drop approved to build on PlayStation. Now, this is not the first game that we've heard being on console. I know STG Football's working on it. You got Off the Grid already listed on the Xbox store. I think console is going to open some doors. I think the big issue right now, don't get me wrong, I use Epic. Almost my entire Epic library is either free Web 2 games or Web 3 games at this point. But I think the biggest issue with launching on Epic right now is that little tag they throw on all the Web3 games saying it's blockchain NFT, and that is deterring players because it's right up front and they don't even take the time to download and try the game. They just see that tag and immediately run away. And we're starting to see some games kind of take what some people are dubbing the Web 2.5 route, where they're building a separate client to get on Steam that removes the Web3 elements so they can get a Steam launch. But then players turn around and find out, oh no, they have a Web3 side. Oh, let's review bomb the heck out of them. So I feel like launching on console without those review systems and tags in place may actually prove beneficial to at least get the game in front of players first. And then if they find out it's Web3 crypto or whatever, at least they've played the game. They've tried the game. They found out whether it was good or not, and they can make a more informed decision on whether the game is worth their time from there. Just seeing a little tag on a platform deterring you, I feel like it's a little silly.
I agree.
Yeah,
oh, my apologies. Go ahead.
No, sure. When I was checking out some of the news surrounding the dead drop announcement, there was still a lot of news sites, kind of focusing on that NFT narrative and how it has this big negative connotation to with their audiences. So yeah, they're really giving those titles tags on those stores.
Yeah, on Epic Games, if you click on the game, there's a tag, like where it says MMORPG, survival, blah, blah, blah. It'll say blockchain or whatever. They also have a big box underneath the like the previews of the screenshots and the gameplay footage. There's a big box that will tell you that it's on the blockchain or whatever. So there's multiple areas that are basically telling gamers, hey, if you hate NFTs and blockchain, don't even download it.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's the problem. Like we have this separation, right? Mm-hmm. And as a developer, you got to look at, okay, how am I going to provide the blockchain, but also provide the gaming and not be tagged? And very difficult. But the key, watching Midnight Society, that's the developers that's doing Dead Drop. The key is to not even talk about blockchain. The key is to keep it hidden in the background. Now, you do have certain people talking about like Epic is, displaying it. But if blockchain is a part of your game, why does the gamer have to know? Like the gamer doesn't have to know. He doesn't even need a wallet. If you can come in, everything gets set up for you, like what Immutable is trying to accomplish, then what is the point of knowing that you have blockchain? The only thing that happens is it's an actual benefit to you if you know, because now you actually have real currency. But if you did not know, that wasn't something that was like guaranteed. You just find out one day, oh, I've been playing this game for 6 months and I earned currency and I never cashed out. Well, that's your fault. It just takes, research. So I think some of the gaming aspect needs to be a little bit more, I guess the word is manipulative, but it needs to have a certain type of marketing strategy where we're not trying to provide all this blockchain guru stuff to the consumer. Let's provide the game. Let's just provide the fun and let them decide what they like. Let the gamer decide instead of everyone telling the gamer, hey, this is Web3. Hey, this is Hey, this is NFT. It's just getting tiring, and the gamers don't even want to do the work. So,
DeFi, I saw you. Yeah, I was about to say, I saw you had a face there, so I want to give you
I just, I have a few thoughts. I feel like I'm kind of going to be the man in the middle here. And one thing, with Dead Drop is, as far as I've been pretty active in the Dead Drop community, probably since Snapshot 5, at least like a year and a month or two. So I've played the game throughout like all the snapshots and things and interacted with the community. And one thing about Dead Drop is it is about the game. It's the focus is not the Web3 NFTs, things like that. Maybe very early on, like during like the Snapshot 5 launch and things like that, when Doc was like hyping up things where he's like, oh, well, like what happens if you go and extract like this super valuable item in game, blah, blah, blah. But they've even put out things like within the past week or two saying like they're coming up with a system where like you could bring items into the game, but you won't necessarily lose those items. You may like it's like some kind of molding system. I got to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. But basically, there's been very few actual details as far as what beyond the founders passes, which just give you a cosmetic mask in the game and a different title. Basically, you're a variant instead of a claw, and you have a one-of-one face mask in the game that is a unique thing. And the only other thing is if you're another player and you happen to kill a variant, you can pick up their tag, which is almost like a collector's thing. It's like there's 10,000 variants. Let me collect all their tags like by killing them. And it's like, oh, look, I got Dr. Disrespect's tag, but there hasn't been any details as far as like secondary markets, things like that. So I think one thing that's super positive about Dead Drop is that it's about the game. And maybe that is going to, lower the friction of actually getting on console and being playable and so on and so forth. Because none of the Web3 is required at all. Me personally, I bought a $20 tower key over a year ago. I got $20 worth of entertainment the first time I ever played the game. I think I played it for like 8 hours because it was like all over the timeline when March 2023, and they're continuing to do very cool things with the founders in the background. They've already set up their infrastructure for DCM, like user generated content in the game, and they're even having like multiple game nights a week with user generated like game modes and everything. And that's probably some of the funnest times I've had in Dead Drop, not even in the main game mode. There's like a whole group of creators that are actually already building in the game. And people aren't paying attention to Dead Drop. Like people kind of like, I feel like they tired out a little bit. Some people complained about like the performance or the direction of the project. I'm like, there's something about Dead Drop that is just like a fun game. The mechanics are good. The game works. Optimization is going to happen. They can't get on consoles without that. And I'm pretty sure they're targeting something like 1060 equivalent to be like their minimum requirement. So that's like pretty good. If you look at, like the Steam user charts, I think the 1060 might be like the most used card or something. So I think it's all good news. And as far as getting on console, like I'm excited for that. I don't even have consoles, but I just want to be able to play the game with more players and maybe outside of the realm of, a Tuesday, Thursday, or a Friday, Saturday night, like community event. I want to be able to hop on, servers be populated, and that's what consoles is going to do for that. And then, people are like, what is this game? And let me like dive deeper in. A lot of console players are both on console and PC. So I think it's just like the greatest, impression, reach thing. Getting on consoles is like, it's free promotion, especially with a free to play game that Dead Drop is going to be at launch.
And see, the thing about Dead Drop is they didn't even hide the NFT side. Like the mint and everything, it was very out there, but it wasn't a focus of the game. And I think that's the balance you need to strive for. When Ivory said hide it, I kind of cringed a little bit if you saw me. And the reason for that is if you look at Ni no Kuni from Square Enix, they launched a mobile game and nobody knew it was Web3. You saw nobody in Web3 talk about it. Regular gamers went and started downloading it and playing it. It was data mined that they had blockchain on the back end, and Web 2 players lost their minds. They felt deceived, they felt tricked, they thought that the game was lying to them, and a lot of people immediately uninstalled it because of that. So you have a tight rope to walk of not making it the focus of the game, not making it all Web3 crypto NFT bro, but you also don't want to be so secretive about it that players feel deceived either. And that's where Absolutely. I think Dead Drop has really nailed that fine line because, again, he hasn't hidden it. But once the mint was done and gone, there was no more talk about it, right? Like everybody's like, oh, this is this new tower key, like the one Zoo Racer got. It was essentially a founder's pack. You go pay $20 fiat, boom, guess what? You're in the game, just like any Web 2 game. There was no difference. People couldn't tell. And then another example I have is the Creator League. We saw how that went last year whenever they went and sold all those passes to all these various creators. And then afterwards, you had Web3 people going, wait, is this Web3? Because they didn't even know if it was Web3. You had some people saying it was, some people saying it wasn't. The company themselves said they weren't, but they're built on the blockchain. And it's like, well, then if you're not Web3, then why do you need to even do this on the blockchain? So it also caused a lot of people who bought in to feel deceived. So you got to be really, really careful how you go about it. And I will give Dead Drop like a bajillion kudos for being transparent but not focusing on it.
Yeah, I think they've done very well with how they presented the Web3 aspect. But also, I think who you are is really important. You mentioned Ubisoft, right? It was Ubisoft that had that problem. Was that Ubisoft?
Square
No, Square
Enix.
Square Enix, yeah. And so, there's just so much heat for Square Enix, Ubisoft when they even mention the word Web3 or blockchain. So you do have to be careful as well when you have a reputation of Web2 and how you're going to decide, because again, you already have a fan base that wants you to stay with them. That's really important. And you want to respect that fan base. So yeah, definitely you want to make sure that people know that you're blockchain, but you don't have to make it the main meal of that game. And I think Dead Drop has done a great job.
And they're not the only ones. Shrapnel, I have to give kudos to them as well, because yes, they also did their initial mint, but those new founders packs they dropped, the heavy, light, and medium packs, multiple buy-in options in fiat, all essentially founders packs like in Web 2. So they kind of it looks like they took notes from how Dead Drop did things in my eyes. I would like to see more games offer that, because everybody talks about, oh well, games need revenue, we need VC funding. Well, how about you just sell regular access packs and maybe try to draw in some Web 2 interest instead of making everything an NFT or everything a token, right? So I think there's some people who need to study how Dead Drop and Shrapnel are doing things with the way that they're handling and kind of balancing that Web 2 and Web 3 entry process. So definitely good stuff going, though, from some big names. I'm curious to see how Off the Grid does it, though, because we've seen a lot of people talking about them. We've seen some gameplay which got both positive and negative reception, but we have heard nothing really when it comes to the Web3 stuff. I don't think I've heard of a mint, a token. I don't think they've even had a playable yet for the public. So,
well, I mean, and I think they're going to try to do, this is just me speculating off of my research with them. I think they're going to be very similar to Dead Drop and Shrapnel. They're probably not going to talk about it much. And keep in mind, they're going to be on the Xbox, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And as far as I'm concerned, they're going to try to push their marketing towards that platform, meaning that Web3 will not be mentioned much in that. That's my personal opinion, and it'll surprise me if I'm wrong. I don't think their marketing strategy to be labeled Xbox game, they're going to market a lot of Web3. I think they're going to market as a game, and then maybe unfold Web3 NFTs on a PC version only, and slowly get into both spaces. Just like with Dead Drop is being announced to be on PlayStation, that doesn't mean that Dead Drop is going to be on PlayStation with NFTs. So I hope people understand that. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means the game will be on PlayStation. That's all it means. This door is going to take a long time to open for a console to be talking about Web3, and that door is not open yet. Until the SEC and everything gets regulated, that door will not open, regardless of who they're allowing on their console.
I think the door is open, just not on the console itself. The way I was explaining it to people is I've seen some games, again, this comes back to like the Steam and mobile releases, where essentially you have to deposit your NFTs through a website to get them into the game. So you can't do it on console. You can't like engage with the market or buy the well, you might even be able to buy the assets, because there's now a game on iOS from Mythical Games called I think it was Nitro Kart World Tour, Nitro League World Tour, one of those two. I actually did an in-app purchase, and typically when I buy a Web3 game asset through an in-app purchase, it's only in-app. It's not an NFT. And I'm thinking Thetan Arena right there. But for theirs, it actually ended up being an NFT that if I went to the website on the back end, I can see it sitting in what I'm assuming is a custodial wallet that's tied to my Mythical Games account. So there are ways for them to possibly do it on console the same way. I'm just not sure because we haven't heard anything yet. So I'm also speculating.
Yes, that's kind of the thing, right? You should be able to hide it, quote unquote, in the sense that you can abstract the Web3 parts enough so it's not actually anything Web3 related in the game itself. Right, I'm not like I'm a web guy, so my job is always, everything I code is pretty much out in the open, and I'm not sure how it goes on consoles. Like, do does the source code get vetted by people from Microsoft or Sony to check if, anything weird is going on? Or
Yeah,
Well, I
there's a
think
whole
it's
process. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, well, to me, I think it's because we haven't heard anything from Sony or Microsoft barring Web3 or even crypto from their platform. It's more of an accessibility thing. Obviously, there's no built-in wallets. The web browser's limited, so you can't like add the MetaMask extensions. So I think the Web3 elements could exist based on my current knowledge of their policies. It's a matter of that accessibility element, and that's why I think everything would be done on the back end. You're gonna say something?
So
my apologies. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna kind of chime in on a couple of the topics we hit there. I know we're still on the topic of consoles, but so basically, the way that I would understand, Dead Drop to work, they would. They should be able to, have their variant face mask and whatever. Basically, they'll probably log in with their PlayStation account or Xbox account, because they're targeting both. PlayStation is just the first one that they got greenlit for. But basically, you'll probably have your Xbox account linked to your Midnight Society account. And then once you log in with your Xbox account, then your Midnight Society stuff will be on your account. But yeah, you won't be able to do it from the console, but you would still be able to, have that exclusive asset or whatever.
And we already see that with Call of Duty, because people have to link their Activision account to their Sony and Xbox accounts. So this isn't something new exactly either.
One other thing I was going to add there too, well, a few more things. So Jin Kieran said something about mobile games and being able to like purchase things right on the spot that aren't just in-app. I've recently just started playing WAGMI Defense, which is still like open closed beta. They're getting ready for a global launch or whatever. If you buy a pack in the game, or even just open a free pack you get from playing, that's an NFT on Immutable right away. The ease of access there is super easy. You can log right in with your Google account. Make sure you have 2-factor and everything set up. But like, that's it's a custodial wallet, but it's a solution to onboard the masses, which like, even for me as a Web3 guy, sometimes it's just easier to be like, all right, let me log in with Google and do it that way. And if I amass some kind of value in the game, then I could move it to an external wallet or something, and secure it more. But I think there's definitely a lot of solutions in place to have guest onboarding and other account onboarding where you have a wallet, but it doesn't need to be hidden. And the last thing I was going to add was, I don't know if anyone has seen the news that Microsoft is open to the discussion of having other marketplaces on their console like Epic Games. So that could be massively bullish for Web3 if they allow other marketplaces like Epic Games that are, being friendly towards Web3. So I'm interested in seeing that, because then it doesn't have to be a one game thing. And that's like all the games. And then it's just a matter of, getting those players onto games.
For sure.
Is this Microsoft reacting? Oh, sorry, man. I was wondering if this is Microsoft. No, you go ahead. My bad. You haven't had your turn yet, so.
No, it's okay. I was just going to say that, Sony specifically has made a lot of headway in loving NFTs. Like you can tell that their business model, they want to promote NFTs in the future. I think the biggest question mark are tokens, though, and I think that's where a lot of things are going to get a little weird. If a game is not having tokens, I don't see Sony or Microsoft having any problems whatsoever. But if token earning is something that's a part of the the game, and that token is a cryptocurrency, then I think there's going to need to be a structure that isn't built just yet to get those games on a platform that is presented by Sony or Microsoft, whatever that may be.
We actually did cover Sony's super fungible token patent here on the show a few weeks back, and we had a lot of theories and speculations around that. So they are clearly open to the idea of Web3 and NFTs. I would love to see games start being able to build over there more frequently. Also, we haven't mentioned it once, but Nintendo Switch, so many of these games are built in Unity, and porting to the Switch apparently in Unity, based on my discussions with developers, is actually really easy. I would love to see some of these games on Switch. Like, I told the STG football team, I was like, you guys go on Switch, I'd be playing this game so much more, because I don't always have time to sit at my PC. I also try to spend time with my boyfriend while we're watching TV and stuff. But maybe I just sit on the couch with them and pull up my Switch and start, playing some football. Don't sleep on the Switch, guys.
I'm asleep.
Well, Blues Wars is a different story. I probably wouldn't play that on the Switch. Shooters on Switch are hit or miss. Mostly miss. Unless you're Splatoon. Splatoon was actually fun. But so we also have, of course, can't go without talking about funding. Funding is pouring into games. I should be playing like the Raining Men song or something. Like it's insane how much money we're starting to see people are devoting to games. I even saw a recent article. I believe it was A16Z set aside a $75 million fund. $45 million of that it's going to be divvied out to projects over, I think it was the next 48 days or something like that. So a lot of money is returning to Web3. And I say returning because we did see a very big lull there where VCs saw AI and were like, oh, screw Web3 games, let's go to AI, But now it seems like the AI craze died down, and now they're like, oh, wait, games are actually a better long-term play. I think that's good. Overall, I think it's good. I want to see games get more money, but I also want to see games do something with that money, because a lot of these projects have raised millions upon millions of dollars, and they still, at best, have a demo.
Money management is key in crypto. We have a major problem with money management in the Web3 business. And hopefully it gets better. There's no guarantees that it will or won't. But yeah, where those funds go is really where it's all about. Is it going to the development team? Does the development team have access to what they need to do to create a great experience? All that's really important. It's easy and it's exciting when people talk about, millions of dollars going into Web3 gaming. But in reality, if that is upper echelon people making decisions, then, I wouldn't really be all that excited myself. Because there's a different model from top business to actual gaming development. Those are two different models, and they're usually not on the same page. And if you need to understand that, just look at Web 2, and it'll give you that formula. So I think, like you said, it's great. Money's flowing in. Hopefully, it flows into the right projects, the right spaces, and the people can manage the funds over a period of 4 years and not manage it based off of bull and bear markets, but actually manage it properly and do the right thing. That's a big question. We'll see.
Nobody else? I was expecting more on that one.
I was just making sure I didn't cut him off again. So I think it's great. It kind of goes back to the point that proceed with caution. It's great. Oh, here, this project raised 5 million, this one 10 million, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. But like you said, it's really about what they have as a plan, what they're going to do with it, money management, having a proper runway, preparing for the unexpected costs down that path as well. But I think, a big thing before all this money was pouring in was, a lack of marketing spend and incentives for people to actually go play the games. Not that, play to airdrop is a long standing strategy. It's been the past 6 month narrative, I feel like, but really having that sustainable economy is going to be the right path, because if people are just there to farm the tokens, they're gonna go on to the next thing. If your game's not fun and doesn't have things to actually have you wanting to spend money in the game, and that's a weird phenomenon for me recently is before Web3 gaming, I honestly never really felt a reason to buy in-game tokens and assets and currencies and things. But I'm not saying that's a bad thing about Web3. It's almost like it's like the glue that puts the pieces together, because in like a traditional Web 2 game, it's like you're just throwing money in the fire. In Web 3, it's like maybe you're building value, accruing value, something that may be worth more later. Maybe it's just a collectible. It's something you'll probably always have, but like there's always this like friction for me in other games. I think the only other game outside of Web3 I've ever put money into was like maybe Fortnite or some other things, and that's like I've been a Fortnite player since like 2017. I had fun recently, like when the no builds and stuff came back. So I was like, I'm enjoying the game, why don't I buy a battle pass, maybe buy some skins, and it is what it is, and I still have them. And that game's not going anywhere. But I think definitely, like you said, the long-term path is the way, and having incentives where people actually want to like keep their value in the games and keep playing and so on and so forth, rather than just being simply extractive, is definitely important.
I think you're onto something there. I spent $300 buying the Warframe Founders Pack, and I don't even play Warframe anymore. I can't sell anything, and since it's on Steam, I can't even give my account away. None of that. But then I spent $100 to grab a Midnight Society Founders Pass off of Secondary. It's sitting at like $550 right now. I could sell it for big profits. I'm not, because I actually like the game and I'm holding on to it. But that's the reality, is you can still recoup some spend. If I spend $60, because right now we're starting to see prices in Web 2 go up and up and up, especially with the microtransactions. A $60 skin in Diablo 4, that's just $60 skin, you're done. But if I were in Web 3 and I bought that same $60 skin, even if I sold it to somebody else for $20, that's still $20 that I got back. Yeah, it's still a loss, but it's not 100% loss like it is in Web 2 right now. And that's what I want more players to recognize, is we're bringing in systems that essentially turn us into kind of like a digital GameStop, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because GameStop never really gave you that full 100% value back either, unless you had something super rare that just absolutely, they couldn't keep in stock. But you can recoup some spend and then turn around and put that little bit that you got back into something else that might pop off, right? So we're kind of creating our own digital economy around gaming, especially becomes more important as we're starting to see even consoles are removing disk drives and they're starting to go digital only. And before you know it, you're only licensing everything that you buy in the gaming world. Just saying, guys.
Yeah, I feel that's kind of one of Web3's end game, so to say, right? So to have that ownership, to have this kind of resale possibility and resale experience you have with the physical copies you used to get.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's like a massive gap that's kind of being created over the last few years, that's just begging to be filled up with something, I feel like.
And as somebody who's bought into multiple Web 2 games that have shut down, Spellbreak, Nosgoth, just to name a couple off the top of my head, everybody's like, well, what if the Web 3 game shuts down? Well, guess what? That NFT is still on the chain. Another game can use the metadata in their own game. It might not be a one-for-one translation. No, you're not going to be taking your World of Warcraft Dragon Mountain to Grand Theft Auto 5. But Grand Theft Auto 5 can look at the chain, see that you own that mount, and be like, hey, you come play our game, you'll get a dragon-themed car skin wrap or something, Right. So that's what we're enabling, and that's what to me is interoperability, and I hope that we see more games leverage that, because this is all public. There's no licensing fees involved with it. There's none of that red tape that Web 2 studios have to deal with right now. And guess what? Web 3, you're not losing revenue if you're promoting another game, because if that asset, guess what? People are going to come buy your asset to play the game that they normally play. So you're
Exactly.
essentially sharing revenue at that point.
And you're just building more utility. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that similar to what you said. It's just that's the best part about Web3, and it's an incredible thing for the entire space, whether it be gaming or not. It's really great because you're building more utility and more value, potential value for a particular asset. The problem is how do you relay that in a way to where it doesn't sound like a scam, or it doesn't sound like what the other elements have kind of brought into the space, and I think that's really the key. I think everyone is trying to figure out that key. How do you relay that message? I think you relayed it perfect. I really do. So, but I got to repeat it in my head when I hear you talk about it, because it's like, you want to relay that message to the customer that, hey, there's value here, long-term value. And it's just it's a great space. I love being in this space. I'm happy to be here regardless of the negatives. The positives are great. So
it's like email when it first came out. All the Nigerian prince emails, oh, your inheritance. Yeah, eventually there's going to be scams. There's going to be people using the technology for bad things. But as regulation comes in and we push back against those bad actors, it's going to become less of a norm. We're going to see genuine products succeed. They're going to pull above the rest, and they're going to find the attention that they deserve.
Are there any games which already kind of built in that facet of Web3, right? That you can use other projects' assets to get something extra.
There's a few that have talked about it. I do know one instance of exactly what I just described has happened. Catch King shut down, and the Solo Fox project was like, oh, if you own a Catch King NFT, you can use it in our game, because they were partnered once upon a time before the shutdown. So this has actually already happened. I want to see it happen on a larger scale. I want to see more projects working together and more projects trying to find ways to collaborate. You had something,
I think the best example of that right now, and I haven't even really jumped into this ecosystem much, is Nifty Island. It's basically like a user-generated content type of game, like think Roblox, Fortnite, creative stuff like that. People building their own islands and maps and things, but you're able to actually import your own assets into the game. So if you and they partnered with something like 200 plus NFT projects that it's like if you have your Pudgy Penguin or whatever, you can bring it into Nifty Island, and you can be running around with all your Pudgy friends in this other game or whatever. So that one is like the first thing that comes to mind when you talk about interoperability and like cross IP, and really just like it's almost like a hub where everyone who has different NFTs, maybe they're competition with each other, but if you're in the game, you could have a tournament. You could have the cool cats or whatever versus the Pudgy Penguins, and throw it down in the game. So I think I probably missed the boat a little bit on the Nifty Island stuff, but I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think like you said, having that cross IP and like communities kind of melding together is definitely exciting, because it just brings the value from both of them and puts them together, and then maybe something new comes out of that, or just more than them separate.
I'm just saying, when it comes, because Web 2 has something similar. If you look at Blizzard's ecosystem, I spent $100 buying Diablo 4 just so I could get a mount in World of Warcraft. I'm just saying, it works. It works.
It does. But imagine also the marketing would be amazing for something like that. Just to give a quick example, like if you had Kratos from God of War NFT, but yet you're buying The Last of Us. And as we all know, the main character is a little girl. She's growing up. But if you could unlock a Kratos-looking character in The Last of Us, that would be so much fun. That'd be so great.
Maybe not Kratos, but the boy.
Yeah, there you go, boy. That would be so great.
At the same time, these crossovers do have to have some level of sense, because if I were walking around Last of Us with Kratos, that would ruin the immersion and the story. Yeah. But the kid,
well, he only looks like Kratos. He doesn't. He's not.
Okay.
Yeah. He only looks like him. That's it.
That would actually be kind of dope.
if you look at Fortnite, it doesn't have to make sense. You got Master Chief and the Doom guy and, the guy doing Kamehamehas from the sky all in the same map.
But that's not a story narrative game, though. That doesn't rely on the world building. So that's why I say it, where it makes sense, because in the case like Nifty Island, user-generated content, people can build anything around anything. So Nifty Island kind of has that Fortnite thing going for them, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
And we could even see that with like Shrapnel or Dead Drop. If people were to start making maps with like new textures and graphics and stuff like that, these other games could even support that same model.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
Will Hytopia do something like that? Maybe.
It's a good question.
Seems like a kind of game which... Like the Web3 Minecraft, right? So user-generated content. Yeah, I mean...
people already mod stuff into Minecraft like crazy, so...
For sure.
I could see that. So our final topic, and I'm pretty sure all of our sentiments are going to align on this one. The FTC rejects the ESRB board's proposal to use facial recognition to verify a player's age before they can play a game. I'm glad. This is good news in my opinion, because where does it stop? Are you going to use this to verify my age before I can go see a movie? Are we going to start worrying? Because it's about the kids. Remember, it's about, well, if it's really about the kids, then why stop at games?
Right.
I don't think it's about the kids. I think they were going to be collecting data. I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Absolutely. I agree. I don't have a whole lot to say, but I agree 100%. They want to collect some data. I don't think it's over. I think they're going to try again in the future. So, but yeah, I think it was all about data for me.
Yeah.
The kids angle failed.
I'm with the FTC. I definitely think, maybe I understand ESRB's thinking behind it. Like, a lot of games are digital now, so on and so forth. It's like you don't have to go to a store to have your parent buy you an M-rated game or whatever. But like, if you want to play a game, you're going to figure out how to get the game one way or the other. Even if they added something like this, you get your brother or your cousin or whoever, to scan their face or whatever. But then it's like, that's a whole privacy thing. It's like, why do you want to scan kids' faces? Like it's just like, it goes down the wrong path. And I think, if somebody wants to play a game, they're going to figure out a way to play it. Like, I kind of grew up in a household where like my parents like didn't want me to play certain games, like almost any shooting game. But I was playing Halo, COD, going over friends' houses, playing GTA and stuff. So it's like, it doesn't stop you. And adding a layer to that is just going to, it's going to do the opposite effect. I feel like, it would almost make me not want to play anything ESRB rated, which like, I guess I'm only playing Web3 games now, guys.
Careful, they're starting to get ESRB ratings too.
Well, you have to for Epic Games, I believe. So I think that's one of the listing requirements there. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't come down. But if they already blocked it, then hopefully that's just the end of the road for that discussion. Just not a big fan of anything to do with like, biometrics and things like that. Yeah. I don't even like, I had to like reset my 2-factor for like Coinbase, and I had to like send them a video where I like turned my head where like to prove I'm not an AI and like say a number out loud. I'm like, just give me my account back, please.
Give me my money.
Yeah.
No, I think. Go for it.
I found it quite weird. Like, and I'm happy that the proposal got blocked. First of all, and for me, it feels very far removed from the reality I'm living in. I'm a Dutch guy, right? I mean, our kids ride their bikes without helmets. So, like, if anything, I felt like, okay, who has the actual responsibility here about what a kid is allowed to play or not, right? Should it like ESRB, sure, it's good to have some sort of an organ which decides and rates certain games, but to give them control over, actually being able to play those things, that feels so well, 9084 kind of vibing, right?
It's also a self-inflicted wound of this big push to making everything digital, because I'll tell you right now, I used to walk into the store and I go to buy an M-rated game and the store was like, well, where's your parents? And I'd have to have my parents come and buy it for me. And guess what? It was my parents' decision at that point whether or not I'm allowed to play that game, as it should be. The ESRB is
100%.
overstepping some boundaries big time. Good night.
Absolutely.
Now, if we want to introduce this for TikTok, though, I'm all for it. I'm sorry. Look, guys, I don't know if you guys recently saw the kid that was like he was really young, definitely underage, smoking a joint on the street because somebody offered it to him, and he goes, anything for the content. That's where we're at with kids these days. There's parents are not keeping track of what they're watching and consuming, and that's why we're starting to see kids kind of go off the rails a little bit. I think parents need to be the ones doing the job, not putting the onus on all these various companies. Just my hot take there.
No, that's facts. That's facts. I'm a parent. I'm a parent of 4, and everything starts with the family and the foundation. You shouldn't have your government deciding anything about the foundation of the family. That causes a lot of other problems. So no, I agree with you 100%. And unfortunately, things are getting digital and things are moving outside of the family aspect. But now I think parents have to become even more, what's the word I'm looking for? Relevant in their children's lives, and they have to become more, capable of doing some more. So it's a change. It's a change of the guard. Times are changing, but parents got to stay rooted in what their foundation is at home, and don't allow legislature to raise your children.
I agree. Got a little off the gaming topic there, but yeah, it's all good. I think it was a good topic, honestly. Just because most people, like, I was talking to my boyfriend. We were at breakfast the other day, and we were sitting in a restaurant, and I looked over at this family, and you had the mom and dad sitting there just talking amongst themselves, and they had 3 kids all just sitting on a phone. And I'm like, that was not my childhood. I didn't even have a phone until I was in high school doing extracurricular activities, and I needed a way to get home. No need for it means I didn't have it. Now it's basically a parenting method. Like, we are all digital, and we even in Web3 have been talking about, well, how do we get gamers involved? Well, realize which gamers you're targeting, especially on these mobile platforms when they're free to play. You're targeting kids in most cases.
Right.
So we need to be aware of this. We need to be cautious about how we approach our systems, because we don't want them to be exploitative and taking advantage of children, just like some of these other games are in Web 2 currently. There was just an article published about Roblox and their child labor situation. I'm using air quotes. I got to pull it in frame real quick. To me, that's a sticky situation, because on one hand, if the kid's being properly rewarded and monetized and the parents are okay with it, fine. If the parents don't know what's going on, they're taking advantage of the child's life is suffering for it, whether it be grades, they're not hanging out with people and socializing, they're basically ignoring life to spend their entire life on the computer, and they're not profiting from it, that's exploitation. So there's a lot of lines. This is a very nuanced topic, but it's something Web3 I think does need to be aware of when we're targeting quote unquote mobile gamers, because a lot of them are children.
I think at the same time, though, too, we need to not be too extreme, because there was another thing regarding there was another thing regarding like the ESRB, maybe like 3 to 6 months ago. There was some game, I think it was a blockchain game on the Epic Game Store, and it got like listed as an adults only game, and it was only because it had some kind of like in-game economy, and then they reversed that.
God's Unchained.
I'm just saying it doesn't need to get that extreme. I like, and that goes back to the tag in the game and whatnot too. It's just a liability thing where they say, hey, like, we're not the ones dealing with the transactions. It is going through this company or this third party or whatever. So I think there definitely does have to be some kind of clarification there, but maybe not in a way that invokes negative feelings around it, like you said.
Like I said, it's a balancing act. You have to be aware of what systems in place and how, because a lot of gaming, they're focusing on psychology now. Even in Web 2, this isn't a Web 3 thing. This is just gaming as a whole. It's more of a psychology play than anything, because everybody was trying to keep players in, and that's why you got stuff like loot boxes and randomized skins and all these crossovers, because guess what? I'll tell you right now, I saw the Family Guy thing in Fortnite. I don't even play Fortnite. I went and bought it just because I was like, oh, dude, it's Family Guy. I love Family Guy. Futurama, same thing. Like, that's what I grew up with. So if you start seeing those characters that kids really want, they got to have, and their friends have it, of course they're going to do whatever they can to be cool like their friends. So they might steal your credit card or something like that. And that has been an issue with Epic in the past. Parents were trying to do chargebacks. Epic started blocking them. Whole court case happened. Epic lost the court case. Don't let that happen to you. Don't let that be you. So that's why, we don't really talk about kids a whole lot. We kind of assume that all of Web3 is just adults, but I'd argue probably in Eastern markets, a lot of them are actually the younger audience.
Yeah, I would agree. I think kids are involved way more than we realize, and we need to balance that. We definitely need to balance it. My son, he's involved in Web3, but it's a part of a learning experience for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's learning Unreal Engine, he's learning Unity, and he learns it on his own time, and he enjoys that process. Then that process leads more to Web3, where he gets to see new things. I think it can be a great experience for kids, but it also needs to be managed and policed in a way to where we're not overly advertising things to children, but we're also giving them an opportunity to learn. Because I think Web3 is a great learning experience. It could be wonderful for learning. Learning finances and economy is very important for young teenagers to learn how to manage their finances. So
they're not going to learn it at school.
No, they're not. Exactly. Exactly.
I'll tell you that right now. If I had those classes in school, I'd be in a much better spot. So I think introducing those systems early in a supervised situation like you're doing,
exactly.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Anybody have anything to add before we wrap up? I know we're a little over the top of the hour. I apologize, guys.
I've been having a blast. That's all I got to add. I'm not paying attention to the time. So, these are all good topics. Great panel here. Definitely appreciate you having me on for sure.
And Ron was worried he wasn't going to have much to contribute to the topics. Man, You've been fantastic. Everybody had plenty of input. This was a great show. And of course, it's time to wrap it up, guys. But before we say farewell, again, big thank you, DeFi, Ivory, Rom. Thank you guys for taking time out of your week to join us. We appreciate you. Ivory, we're going to be seeing you back on the show for sure. For those that aren't aware, this is the official announcement, I guess. Ivory has joined us as a recurring panelist. So we will definitely be seeing more of him in the future. So keep an eye out for him. That's going to be a wrap for us, though, today, folks. This is another great episode of The Block Sauce. There's a pause because I'm trying to remember the script. For those that weren't here last week, I'm trying to break away from the script, but also kind of keep it consistent. So thanks for joining us, Sauce enthusiasts. Of course, we couldn't have done it without all of your support and dedication to joining us, watching, leaving the comments. We appreciate you as well. And if you have any future suggestions, make sure you guys drop us a comment on the Twitter when we announce these. We can definitely adjust some of these to cater to what you guys are looking towards. Remember, sauce never stops flowing. Stay connected with us on social media. Again, I just mentioned the Twitter. Also, make sure you guys are following DeFi, Ivory, and Rom. Probably ReNFT. I'm sure you'd probably rather me promote ReNFT, huh? Because that's what you're working on. So,
For sure.
So that's going to be it for us today, Sauce enthusiasts. Join us next time for another amazing episode of The Block Sauce, where we'll keep the gaming flame alive and the discussion sizzling. Stay saucy and keep gaming in the exciting realm of Web3. Have a good one.